you leave a fire long enough, you leave a fire for 3 to 5 minutes, what's happened? You lost your edge. So this, but if the fireman's running down that way, sees the fire escape with a stare, sees a white tag on it, what's he going to do? He's going to use it. He needs a flag of some kind that says it's okay. There's the white tag. So during the examination, if it's not good, we put a yellow. If during the examination treads are falling, we put a red on it. Got it? Permanently fixed. We can give you this document. It doesn't have to have National Fire Escape Association on it. You can just use it, and it tells how inspectors should behave as far as design professionals. If you're going to repair it, how vendors should behave, and if you're going to paint it, how painters should behave, including the lead law. This is some of the stuff you're going to find online. That's why I'm going to stop rapid firing, but if you have questions, stop me, all right? So when you go to Portland.org, these are the kind of things you're going to find on there. And they cover everything, including load testing, everything, how to paint it. Okay? Now this is the confidence test. Later on at the end of this, we're gonna make sure we go over it. Okay, 25 questions. The last page, which is page 6, we have a vendor sheet. You know what the vendor's supposed to put on there? The vendor's supposed to put on there his name, his licenses, his insurance, because he's gonna go for permit. This is a pre-permit checklist. So that way you don't get a landscaper fixing the fire escape with what? Paint. Does a landscaper need a permit to paint the fire escape? Well, guess who's been fixing these things for the last 50 years? Landscapers and florists. Do you know why? They don't need a permit. You know what kind of pricing they're offering? Spectacular pricing. All right, you guys remember the Station 9 fire? Up in Rhode Island? Right after that, this was done in 2003, guys. What year are we in? 2003, and all of a sudden, she said, I want to do a story on fire escapes. I told her, listen, do you know that 75% of everything I look at fails? Over 75, I didn't want to say 95, but that's the true number. And that of those 75, at least 50% have life safety issues. There's no way. We have codes, we have laws. She wanted to do a 1-minute piece. Instead of the 1-minute piece, she did this.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
With a ram and just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here, for months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results. Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files,
But there's no fire escape certification.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
To the fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this?
No, but when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn, the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
2003. Now, we figured out right here now, so we figured it. It's my evil twin brother. So, open to the middle of the book. That's the certificate for Boston. Look at the golden parachute right in the middle. And this is a state document. What's it say right in the middle of the document? It says, I certify, to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief, these egress components is in conformity with the provisions of the Mass Building Code, which is a golden parachute. It's called drive-by, fly-by. Somebody called me for a certification. I drive by, as long as the fire escape is not on the ground, I roll down my window, I collect the fee, I put it in my pocket, I look at the fire escape, it's not on the ground, and I sign this document, which in case somebody gets hurt next week, what happens? Nothing. Why? Because I did not load test, I did not verify, I do not have a checklist. It just says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Well, a month later it fell. Well, had the guy called me a day before, maybe I would have found whatever was about to fall. Got it? So these are the standard nationwide. You were all putting, you go back to all fire escape affidavits that you may or may not have in your files, and guess what it says? At the bottom of every structural engineer's document, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Got it? So, it took a tragedy for them to basically, in '73, to put the 5-year rule on. Okay? 73, that's what it took. And this won't appeal as a prize. 30 years later, what is she saying about all the buildings? Right? Well, we got more. You guys might have heard in 2014, 2 firemen died in a fire. While the guy was doing what to the fire escape? Welding the fire escape. We got that too. So let's take a look at what fire escape, what kind of people fire escapes eat and kill and maim and injure. As you can see, whenever there's a parade, everybody comes out and gets on the fire escapes. When in the back, when you didn't have AC, you remember in New York City, everybody slept out on the fire escape? Whenever all hell breaks loose, whenever there's an emergency where you can't, for some reason, get somebody out the front of the building, they take people out the fire escape for some reason. That happened. You see the top left corner? One of my guys, his father, 57 years old, pulled the wrong bolt, disconnected the wrong connection, and fell 7 stories to his death. So who did fire escapes kill? Everyone. They're not prejudiced. They'll kill anybody, any age, any size. And we've been seeing a lot more activity. No smoking buildings means where do you go to have a smoke? You You want to cheat in your neighborhood, you want to cheat on your wife, cheat on your husband, go out the back fire escape and do what? Get a cup of sugar? But that's catching a lot of people, how about weddings and stuff, people getting on it? How about that collapse in New York of the 30 kids that fell?
But right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments, because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in their fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
About 50 people were displaced inside this building. Our firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
I went to look at this fire escape group, there was about 12 of them, 6 months later. Have they fixed any of the fire escapes since the fire? All the fire escapes I examined, all failed. Out of them, over 50 to 75% of them had life safety concerns of their own. And he just mentioned them. He says none of them are working, so that the tenants who were stuck on the fire escape were stuck for what reason? Because they didn't know how to jump 12 to 15 feet? Is that the problem? Or the little girl that was hanging on the ladder, she's 8 years old. How many people have trained their 8-year-old daughters to how to go down a ladder 15 to 20 feet off the ground? And it still wouldn't go down. What's that mean? So fire escapes are for people to self-evacuate and for firemen to use to get back in, but also for firemen to use to get back out in case all hell breaks loose. So what happened? 6 months later, if all the buildings failed, even though I reported to the fire department and the building department the condition of the, a year later, still nothing's being done. And a lot of times that's because there is no desire on the fire or the building department to do anything about it, or it comes from the top and they say what? Got it?
Excuse me, he's saying that when you told him that.
Witnesses say it sounded like an incredible experience.
Have you seen that building department, that fire department, when you made them aware of it, did they actually send an enforced notice, did they do anything? That's my question, because you wouldn't be in court for 6 months waiting to get something done. We're involved with that right now, so I mean, but they
Well,
didn't send anything.
the code says that you can be in court, but if all of a sudden that building does not have 2 means of egress, you can be in court as long as you want, because the building will be vacant while you're dealing with this court issue. I mean,
But
I just gotta get back in the order here. All right, and so, do you understand? I've had situations where, sorry to pick on Philadelphia again. I have, I'll pledge this again. I have all the answers for Philadelphia that we did to the Liberty chapter. We'd love to put a program immediately into place because it already exists. It's not an idea, it already exists, so that they just basically copy and paste. And we basically marry the fire department and the building department together, so that there's always notice of something wrong in the building, and that is, that building doesn't have a second means of egress. Can it be occupied? Can it be? Can any building be occupied without a second means of egress? By law. So while they want to go to court and do whatever, you can just shut it down and say, hey, listen, we'll take as long as you want in court, but because of the public safety, and you don't have 2 means of egress, the building department says you don't have 2 means of egress, they shut the building down. Fire department says it's a life safety concern, they shut it down, let's go to court, we'll take 6 months. In the meantime, so we'll gladly use this model is ready to just plug and play, but it does take, in some cases, there is going to be some backlash that comes from it, and everybody is very sensitive to the the economic condition of everybody you're about to get involved with. So, but again, till this day, I've called the president of the council, has never returned my calls. I have called the fire chief, the fire chief who was in the meeting, never returned my calls. I have called the building commissioner, has not returned my calls. And that's in 2014. So, and that was a death. That was 3 people. 1 died the other 2 people should have died because they're all crippled, they're all destroyed, they fell 40 feet. I'll show you that's actually the case, that's actually the case that's coming up right now, so let's play that.
Witnesses say it sounded like an incredible explosion when the fire escape of a Philadelphia apartment building suddenly collapsed and injured 3 people.
NBC 10 cameras were there as a friend holds on to one of the victim's hands, who is apparently conscious as the victim is placed into an ambulance by medics.
KYW-TV reports a man who was critically injured and 2 women were rushed to local hospitals.
Police believe the bolts of the fire escape appear to have been rusted and dislodged from the brick wall of the apartment building.
The victims fell more than 30 feet to the ground, and now the incident is under investigation. Worth noting, the complex is more than 100 years old and even on Philadelphia's historic registry. Local reporters are all pointing out the city's licenses and inspections department hasn't filed any violations in the past when it comes to the old building, so Sunday's collapse came without warning. Neighbors say the 3 victims, reportedly all in their 20s, may have been partying on the fire escape landing before the incident. For Newsy, I'm Elizabeth Hagenhorn.
They may have been partying, that was the cause, and it wasn't, it was a through bolt that brought it all the way through. I happen to be inspecting the area, nothing to do with this case, and
Fire escape engineers inspect the summary video here in Philadelphia. All right. Some of the preliminary information that I'm getting out of this is that this piece here, which this is the back, used to be up against the building. These 2 brackets here used to be going to that 4th, 5th floor up there, where you now see the 2 blowouts. The blowout on the left and the blowout on the right. And it used to be attached there. And then this staircase, which is here, it went to that platform up there. And that platform up there also had a bracket which is now laying inside the floor below. So they either were going up to that upper floor or they were on this fire escape. And as soon as it let go on this side or up above, which looks like it's all blown out, as soon as it let go there, it basically tore away and fell down, or
so this is way before I was even hired by the lawyers to represent this case. But that's just, I happen to be in the area and I looked at that. Here's another case in Boston, not in Boston, but south of Boston. This fire escape fell while people were on and looking at the building who were trying to buy the condo. And the owner himself and his sons did the roof over, and they had to lift all the fire escapes off and then put them all back. And there was some bolts left over. So what do you do with the bolts left over if you're a good mechanic and you've either done an engine or a fire escape? What do you do with the extra bolts? Put them in your toolbox, because you're going to need that for something else. There's just too many bolts on these things. So they actually fell 10 feet only because even though that's a 30-foot drop, what happens is there was a little roof just below it, thank God. And there was about 6 people mangled in there. And they all called their lawyers, and they all called the paramedics, and all 3 systems. So the one I was on was ready to fall. This is in
A
Colorado.
startling scene in downtown Colorado Springs Wednesday after
All
a
this
man
happened in
falls to his
2014, by the
death.
way.
I was just
A lot
walking
of
up
fire
the street to
escape
get to the bus stop, and the cops were right there, told me I couldn't come this way.
Police say the victim and several others were working on the roof of this privately owned building when the man fell.
He may have fallen a distance of anywhere from 15 to 20 feet is what's being investigated right now.
Tragically, the man died on scene. It's believed he fell from the fire escape and not the roof or a window, although how it happened is still unknown.
That's what's being investigated right now to determine the actual cause of the accident itself.
Right now, police say the death is not criminal and is being called an industrial accident.
There were several witnesses, individuals who were working with the deceased party, and so we've interviewed them as witnesses in this investigation.
It's really sad. I feel bad for his family. I mean, I don't know him, but prayers and best wishes to his family for sure.
Others in the area expressing similar concerns and well wishes, visibly distraught by the day's events.
I mean, I can't even imagine it just coming out to do your job one day, just fall off a building. Like, it's really sad.
Okay. So OSHA called me in on that one. Cantilever. And they were using the fire escape to go work on the roof. But the cantilever wouldn't come down, so they could use it to bring supplies up to the roof. So the first guy went out to the nose of it because it was not a rear balanced cantilever. There was a nose, had the cable on the nose, it went up to a pulley down to a weight, and that cable was rusty. So when he went out there, started to jump on it to make it fall, it didn't. Then he brought 2 more buddies out, and when it finally snapped, the cable caught him. So normally you don't die from a 15-foot fall, but when you get whiplash, what happens? There's another one in Boston. This is in, Beacon Hill. It's a hill. So you have this building, it's a 5-story, this other building is a 5-story. So this 5-story looks over the roof of the other 5-story. So a tenant, one of his ways out was to go to the other guy's roof that had a brand new deck. And so what do you do when you're 25 years old, you just came back from partying and dancing all night, you got your girlfriend over, and it's a nice night out there, what do? You ask for permission to go on the roof deck, or your fire escape lease it, what do? So he did, he went over, the phone rang. Back in the day, the phone rang in the old days, you used to have a phone inside a house, I don't know if you guys remember those days. And so who went back? Did he go back, who he knew the thing night and day, he knew the path, or did his girlfriend go back? She went back, and there was a rail missing, and she fell 5 stories. There's another one we did in Iowa. Somebody fixed a fire escape, had a through bolt in it, and the guys fixed it. But instead of putting a through bolt back in a 1/2-inch hole, they put a 1/2-inch lag bolt back in. And so when they were watching fireworks, 3 people fell. So boom, 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 that's the blood on the ground, that's the fire escape on the ground. And obviously this is a very serious situation. You have to conserve the evidence. So where would you conserve the evidence? In a nice warehouse, or in a field 8 blocks down? So they threw this fire escape in a field 8 blocks down. It's up there, water, and everybody around. And what do we find?
This looks like the leg for the staircase.
This is us looking for pieces of the fire escape. And what's still in the record? Everybody got all excited that I thought it was flagpole.
You might gentlemen.
So they quickly put it back, and they put the through bolt back, because they were told to. They also said, I'm really scared. They put a leg on it to the ground, and then the leg to the roof, on the shingle, or on a pressure-treated sleeper. Straight to the shingle. On the back, see those little 2 baby legs over there that were never there before? Are those on pressure-treated sleepers? Or straight to the shingle? Straight to the shingle. They've since settled this case. Who inspects fire escapes? Registered design professionals, like engineers. Registered design professionals in your state, like architects. They claim that city officials have inspected my fire escape. I get this all the time. Oh, my city official was just here, he said, fix this one bolt on this one rail, that's it. He's all happy. That's not what he wants, but we try to tell people that, and they want, because you know what you did, you wrote a violation, so please write somewhere on your books, never write, scrape and paint the fire escape and fix that tread. What you need to write is, have your fire escape examined, repaired, and tested. That's all you need to write on the violation. Have your fire escape examined, repaired if needed, and tested. And provide me either a load test or provide me other evidence of strength in lieu of a load test. That's it. That's all you have to write on your violation. Okay? Fire escape inspectors. How many licenses in the country to inspect fire escapes? I inspect for Harvard University. Am I a registered architect? Am I a registered structural engineer? Am I another? Have I signed all of Harvard's 375 fire escapes for the past 25 years? Because I'm another, right? Aside from, starting the National Fire Escape and teaching these classes, which helps me be a stronger other, there's code there that supports my other. But I'll get to the code in a second. But fire escape inspector, there's a Boston license, a G3 license, right? And if you're an ornamental guy and you do railings and window guards, they'll give you a G3 license, and guess what they let you sign off on? Fire escape. Do I need a permit to fix the fire escape? Because I'm just painting it, right? So for 50 years, I have this G3 license. Engineers don't make any money in Boston. Fox in the hen house, and what happens? I fix it and I sign off on it. Oh, by the way, the document that I sign off on is right here. Oh, I see what sign on here. Engineer or licensed builder. And if you have a G3 license, you can sign in Boston, Fox in the hen house. Now, how about the cities outside of Boston? They allowing G3 guys to sign? No. When? Just recently. Why? Classes like this. Because the others, they weren't following rules. They weren't, basically it was a free-for-all. So florists and landscapers were fixing fire escapes in Boston. And what kind of prices did they offer? Best. Let's talk about prices right now. So you guys know what numbers are out there. You write a violation that says repair and paint this fire escape. The guy, and it's a 5-story. You know what he's going to get? He's going to call, who's his first call? You get a scrape and paint violation that you just wrote in any city in Pennsylvania. Who's he going to call? It says scrape and paint. Number one call I make is to who? Painter. Painter comes out. He goes up, he says, hey, what do you want? I want you to paint this 5-story fire escape with stairs and a cantilever at the bottom to the ground. I want you to give me a price to paint it, because I got a violation right here, look. He goes, okay, great, let me take a look. Will he tell him that he doesn't have an EPA renovator's license for lead? Will he tell him that? No. Does he have to have one? Because anything older than 78, you're supposed to have, you can't scrape and paint the fire escape unless you have an EPA renovator's license, and that's, that's page 2, right, on this book. So he goes, oh, let me walk it up, walks it up, comes back down, says, I can do this for $5,000. Right? And then while he's walking up, he tells the owner, by the way, a bunch of loose treads up there that I almost fell through, and you should have Joe the ironworker down the street fix that. He goes, okay, thanks for the heads up. So he calls Joe the ironworker, says, hey Joe, come down, I want you to look at this fire escape. I want you to fix those 2 treads. The painter guy here is going to paint this, and Joe says, hey, I paint. Does Joe have an EPA renovator's license? Does Joe have a welding machine? Can Joe weld some of these repairs? Does the EPA let him? Is a weld a proper repair on a fire escape? Because they usually do what with the rust? They leave it there or they remove it and then weld it? They leave the rust there and do what? Weld it shut. Is that a proper repair? And if the EPA catches him welding, and there's only 4 EPA inspectors nationwide, what's the fine? $37,500. But by the way, all fire escapes are supposed to be bolted. They're not supposed to be welded fire escapes. They're supposed to be bolted. They need to move and heat, whatever. But so the guy walks up, Joe the ironworker from your city, walks up and down, and he comes down, oh my God, every tread is ready to go. Those are just the 2 that finally gave way, but every tread needs it. You got some cement work against the building, and I got all kinds of rails that are loose on this thing. I go, oh, okay. How much? He goes, well, I can repair this entire fire escape, and I will paint it also while I'm there, because I'm in every nook and cranny of it, and I want $25,000 to fix it. So this owner's got his 2 bids, like every other owner in all of America. This is not just Pennsylvania. He gets his 2 bids, and he's got your violation. And you know what your violation said? Scrape and painted. So who gets the award? The painter does. And he calls you and says, hey, I'm getting it painted right away. When can you come back and look at it? Or do you want me to take a picture with my smartphone of the whole thing black? And since you just wrote a scrape and paint violation for 50 years, guess what's holding that thing up in the air? Paint. And you know who doesn't trust paint? Firemen don't trust paint. So they whisper into the ears of the new trainees, in case of fire, don't use the... Okay, 2012, I was surprised. I was actually teaching a class out in Salt Lake City. And the city official there brings out the 2012 book, and it's a woman that was running the fire department, so not a building department requested me to go out there. It was a fire department, all because of something that happened in Philadelphia, and they wanted to get ahead of it. And what does she show me? She shows me that in 2012, the 1104 says that every fire escape in the U.S. must be inspected every 5 years. That's what we've been shooting for. And it happened without any fanfare. I didn't even know about it. But then it becomes, oh, we're still using the 2009, we're still using whatever code you're still kind of using, and until we get our amendments in the 2012, We haven't adopted the 2012, we haven't adopted the 2015, and by 2018. But it's already there. So the IFC has the rule. When you go to the IBC, it says see IFC for the maintenance of fire escapes. And all the other codes that I already showed you that are on the websites, technical assistance. This is the other, guys. Notice the part. Now, let's not just make this about fire escapes. You can make this about steeples. You can make this about windmills. You can make this about solar panels. You can make this about anything that's coming down the pike that nobody knows about. So every now and then you guys need an other, especially solar panels now there. You need another because sometimes you got an engineer looking at something that's never even touched a solar panel. But look what it says. The opinion and the report shall be prepared by a qualified engineer. You can find one. Specialist, laboratory, or fire safety specialty organization acceptable to the fire code official and shall analyze the fire safety property of the design, operation, or use of the building or premises and the facilities and the appurtenances situated thereon and recommend necessary changes. The fire code official is authorized to require submittals to be prepared and bear the stamp of a registered design professional. So even after this professional, technical person, this other does it all, can you still require him to go get a stamp by a peer? Well, you got the best of both worlds, but the code has already been there for 100 years. It says design professional or others acceptable to the building official. So you have the power to accept an other. You also have the power to tell a structural engineer and a design and a registered architect who doesn't know anything, and they just, for lack of a better word, what's the word, stamp? You guys know that the stamps are bought all day long, fly-by, drive-by. So this means that you can force a load test on somebody because you don't feel that they gave it the proper attention. So have I clarified the other for you guys enough? And it's backed by code. As far as get pass or fail? It fails, right? And you know who failed it? A structural engineer. You know what he said to fix? 4 things. When I got there, I condemned the whole fire escape. And you know who called me to come in and examine it? Was it the owner of the building? A concerned citizen? Or was it his secretary that says, I think I got a good... There's a document that she received. Was this document. And it says fix 4 things. And you know what's at the bottom of that? The beautiful, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. There's a report next to it. That's me marking up all the violations. The whole thing was condemned. Fort Lee, New Jersey, which used to be the Hollywood, the East Coast Hollywood for the silent movie. This used to be a studio for the silent movies. Now it's just a big storage warehouse. This is in Chicago. This is 150 units. They told me, hey, we want you to fix the fire escape. I mean, paint the fire escape only. I said, if you don't mind if I look at it, do you, before I paint it? And I found all kinds of rust. So this is a detention center for youth. When you first walk up, it looks like it just needs a paint job. As soon as you look underneath, what do I see? So if the 1-year sentence didn't get you, maybe getting hurt or killed on the fire escape will. So the biggest thing with fire escapes that you guys have to worry about, especially firemen and tenants, is the fact that treads, which is probably your biggest killer, your biggest injury is going to happen on a tread. A lot of these fire escapes are no longer structural. So every time we examine a fire escape, we go up with a 3-pound hammer and we ping. When's the last time you guys carried on a 3-pound hammer to go pinging up the staircase? When's the last time a fireman in the fight of a fire escape bring up a 3-pound hammer, going up or going down? And I had a fireman in New York City that fell through 2 sets of stairs, sued the building. But sued the building owner not for, on-the-job injury. He sued the building owner for negligence and won. Because I didn't get hurt on this fire escape during a routine. You not maintaining your fire escape caused me to have this injury that now I'm disabled for the rest of my life. And he won. The case is on here. We'll show it to you in a second. But our biggest concern is treads. And this is what we do to verify that the treads are in good order when we walk out.
say that this is an emergency, life-threatening issue that UNO needs to take care of
That trip gonna go?
as quick as possible.
Does anybody look for that while they're going up and down the building? So our job is to tell you, never examine a fire escape, never get on it. From the ground or from up above, when you open the door, you'll be able to see whether or not it's been maintained. You order inspections. The person that's going to inspect this fire escape knows when to get on these and when not to get on these. And that's one of the questions on the test, okay? All right, oh, by the way, this last shot, this is reverse bracketed system, and it basically, this is that 150 units, look at all the runs I've done. I was pulling bolts by hand on this fire escape. Look how broad it out this thing is. Oh, did I mention fire towers? I examined this fire escape, and then all of a sudden I started hammer testing, all the tread stuff falling. They shut this place down. And just the day before, they were trailing men on this. So please have all your fire towers inspected. Inside and outside. See the inside stair? How much rust is on the inside stair? Got it? So hammer test. Soldier's home. This is veteran's home. Okay? So what I want to do is, we're at 12:30, correct?
Yes.
Okay? I want to use the last 15 minutes to go through the confidence test and make you fill it out and understand. So we only have about a half hour, but I'm going to kind of wrap up the slides, and then we're going to talk about the confidence test, and I want to explain to you the questions and why they're so important. And when a structural engineer or others acceptable to you don't answer those questions, you will pull the load test card out of your pocket. Because they're going to try to say, well, I have a register, and I'm going to call the mayor, I know the governor. You know what? You say, yeah, great, then load test. And by the way, when the building department orders a load test, who else can order a load test? Fire department. Because it's in both codes. Okay? So this is fire escapes that have been damaged, smashed. Guys, you see everything. Even City Hall. That's the City Hall. Look at the treads up on that upper floor. Look at all the treads missing on the upper floor to a City Hall. Now, we all hope it's the mayor's office that it goes to, but it's usually not. Guys, everything on the fire escape is behind the scenes. Look how solid the steel is outside the building, but look how bad the steel is inside the building. This is where load testing comes in, because between the veneer and the masonry block wall inside, which is where the structure is tied into, is a 1/4 inch gap. What does that 1/4 inch gap give you?
Place where water is going.
That's it. So when the roof leaked 38 years ago and kept feeding water down there, what did that water hit? It hit the inside of the steel, rotted it out. A 1/4 inch of steel will grow to 1 inch of rust, and it'll do what to the brick around it?
Spall it.
It'll blast it out, it'll spall it, and then it'll start peeing. It's called rusty tears. You start seeing rusty tears on a building coming down. What's it telling you is going on inside for 38 years? It's been leaking for so many years, hitting that, and it's the first sign is rusty tears come out. The second sign, it blows all that out. Now, the most important thing about this is, do I want to fix this stuff? Or can I just let sleeping dogs lie and make a brand new connection into the building using a 3/4 Hilti epoxy bolt or a through bolt all the way in with a plate? Because it's going to cost me $500 to tear these things apart, or it's going to cost me $50 to take the connection 6 inches away, drill a new hole, plate it in the back, 3/4, photograph, and then make a mechanical connection back to the steel. The old steel in there, it's still got to get packed, it's still got to get sealed so no more water gets in there. But do you care about that old connection anymore? And now getting back to the NFPA. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. So if I've changed every bolt on the fire escape, is that other evidence of strength? If I verified the connection into the building and replaced it and nullified the original one, is that other evidence of strength? Do I need a load test? Yes. He says yes. So he's going to make me fix the whole fire escape and still load test it. So I'll people disagree with you. So tell me why.
You've shown proper connection, all new connections. And if it's properly attached and all the connections, you can verify the connections.
I can.
You don't need the test.
And you're going to verify it. You got to come in and check it anyway. A lot, and can't even paint it. Way before this, when I fixed this fire escape, I gotta prime the connections, seal them with 50-year silicone, and I can't even paint the fire escape until you come out and check and sign off, and then they can paint it to their heart's content. I don't care if they throw balloons of paint at it. Because what you want a pretty painted fire escape, or you want a guaranteed structurally sound fire escape to not order a load test? Now, if I get there, the guy says, oh, I changed all the bolts on the treads, on the staircases, and I did everything else is great. I'm ready to paint. What are you going to order? A full load test or a partial? Partial load test. Why? Do I need to do the staircase? If it has all brand new bolts? No. But what the staircases tie into the platforms, right? Do you need to load test those?
Yes.
Why? Because I can't verify them. But you can say to the guy, how much is the load test? Oh, dude, the guy was charging me $12,000 to $15,000 to do this 10-story unit here. Well, how much to change the rest of the bolts? You wanted $8 grand. Why don't you just change the bolts, dude? Take the load testing money, apply it to paint and bolts. Question?
So, so anything you can't see, there's no evidence of interior rust, like the rust interiors are that this place is bricks. You were requiring a load test and reconnection.
I'm not requiring. The code says either or, but I call you and I said, what would you like for your city? Are you requiring a load test? Because I'm telling you that if all of a sudden you let me just sign off on this with an opinion, I have a strong disclaimer. I got a million reasons. Does anybody know what my million reasons why I'll send you a strong disclaimer saying that it's a bigger write-up of what's in here that says, I will not be held responsible. You, the owner of this building, will defend me in court. But I'm also saying that if the city accepts such a document, who else was going to defend me in court? So I'll give you want a parachute? I'll give you a parachute, but you got to sign for it. And I have a million reasons. What happened to me in Chicago? Did somebody get hurt? Did I go through the court that I have to sit with 7 lawyers and they all want to blame who? The last guy that touched it. Who touched it? Did I load test it? Did I have to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief? Did the fire escape actually fail, or was the fire escape piece broken? It actually, to shorten this thing up, the fire escape piece was broken off. And what broke? A well. Was I asked to load test the well? Was I asked to x-ray the well? Was I asked to give an opinion on the well? Yeah, I gave an opinion. That looks good. I know there's 12 wells here. There's no bulging, but it was on a cantilever. And when you smash a cantilever so many times that it torques and tweaks, what happened to that stiffener that was on there? It fell. Fell on who? Fell on me? No. Did it fall on the guys who came after the fact and used the fire escape as a staging area to fix the whole facade of the building? Can you use fire escape as a facade, as a staging area for maintenance work on a building? Right? So aside from that, to make a long story short, I got a million reasons. A million reasons why, because you still have to go to court. There's still all kinds of defense. But thank God, the main thing about that, and was the city of Chicago also brought into the case? Why? Because they're accepting a document that says what? To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Got it? Questions? Yes?
So you say bringing in, if someone, the city brings in an engineer, has the engineer do, or tells the tenant or the landlord that you need an engineer's report. The engineer, as you say, he's going to cover himself at the bottom there. He's going to say, from what he saw, my opinion is this. You are what? What is your qualifications?
I'm a certified fire escape inspector. So I have a license out of Boston, I have a license out of LA to inspect fire escapes. There's no other licenses anywhere. That's one of the things I wanted to make a point when I was doing licensing. There's only 2 licenses in the whole country.
So what I'm trying to get at, when your guy was there with the hammer, he's banging, obviously the step broke out, that's plain as day. Now, you go ahead and get that repaired. Who oversees that? You? Say it's not in the 2 cities you have licenses.
Right, so I understand your question. So it's a 2-step process. Somebody inspects fire escapes, somebody repairs fire escapes. It can't be the same person.
Understood. But an engineer has a report and says, do A, B, and C.
Yeah, so I can come back out and I inspect the fire escape, and the city official already knows I'm coming back out. A lot of times we invite them to come back out, and if the city official accepts me as another, he says, yeah, I'll allow you to sign this document. Or he says, you know what, I don't feel comfortable, can you sign it, but can you have it countersigned by a structural engineer? Yeah, he'll come back with a structural engineer sign it.
So
But the
repairs are
norm
made
is-
and we bring you out and you check it. Or the landlord brings you out and checks it, and you check the repairs that were made.
Yeah, and you get a copy of the report.
It came from an engineer, said you gotta do A, B, and C.
Right.
And then they hire you to bring you out to do the inspection. You
Right.
come out and inspect it. What makes your inspection God?
It's not God.
Or
What it is.
pass? What, I mean, you don't have a license in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm just trying to find out.
Yeah.
Who can say, yeah, that's done right?
Basically,
So,
the way that Pennsylvania works is the UCC says that it's up to the building code official for that particular township to determine who is a qualified inspection agency for anything, special inspections such as fireproofing, fire escape, sprinklers, fire alarms, things like that.
and who can fix it though? That's another question, so, but who's licensed to fix it?
Anybody.
So, well, before you get that, would you consider a welding guy with a welding truck and tools, and that's his trade, would you let him fix a fire escape? And not necessarily weld it, he'll just change bolts. Would you allow him? If he's being overseen by somebody?
Yes.
If it's an ornamental shop making window guards and railings, and they come out and they change bolts and stuff, overseen by someone, would you accept that?
As long as it's overseen by a qualified inspection.
And then the final one is, you got an iron company, they put up 12-story buildings and I-beams, they come out and they fix this. Okay? Then the local landscaper who used to work at a metal firm, he's gonna come out and fix it, but he's being watched. Do you accept the landscaper?
As long as it's got proper insurance. Yep.
So you see, so this is still wide open, but you guys need to, can you make it so that it's specific? You know, you must have, so in Boston, you must have a construction supervisor's license or a G3 license in order to pull a permit. You must be a design professional or others acceptable to the building official to inspect in Boston. So they allow G3 people to inspect. But you go to Chelsea, which is right next door, 1/10 the size of Boston, and they don't allow G3 people to look at it. Because the fox in the hen house has done much damage throughout the past 50 years. Got it? So let me, does that answer your questions, help you? There's no answer yet, but there's a solution on its way. And these questions help anybody, whether you're an inspector like me, I have 25 questions to answer to satisfy you, or whether you're a registered architect, I have 25 questions to satisfy you, or whether I'm a structural engineer, I have 25 questions to answer you. I need to go over those 25 questions so that you say, these are some great general questions that I would like to know about this fire escape in my city. So that's all this is. This is just a checklist, you know what I'm saying, that sort of makes you feel comfortable that, and this person doesn't say opinion, there's no opinion on there. Yes, no, not applicable. LA Fire, checklist, yes, no, not applicable. Seattle, Washington, yes, no, not applicable. Portland, Oregon, yes, no, not applicable. Just a list. And if somebody says, I don't want to fill out this document, I hate it, okay, read the questions, put them on your letterhead, and answer the questions.
So they hire you to come in, a tenant, a landlord hires you to come in and inspect this fire escape. You come in and you fail.
Yep.
Okay.
I
What's
gotta
the
give you
next
a copy.
step?
I gotta give you a copy of that report.
I have one of your reports.
No, I'm saying, I gotta give you a copy.
Yeah, I have it, of actually the location or town.
Okay.
It failed.
Upper Darby or?
Upper Darby, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So now, he has that report, it's failed.
Right.
Now he's gotta get the repairs done.
Right.
So what do you guys typically do? Do you offer the repairs? Or you say, get the repairs done and we'll come back and re-inspect?
In our model, in our business model, we normally work with just commercial, 5, 10-story buildings all over the country. All residential, we say your best price is local. Please call your local welding guy, please call your local ornamental guy, and our document there is to help them understand. It includes a video that says, here's what needs to be done. Their job is to get that vendor to call you guys and say, hey, I'm gonna do this job, and you may or may not ask him for a permit. And it's all stated on the document. As far, on the back, it actually has a checklist of things of what the city official would like you to do.
It
So
would be
a
best
lot
to
of the
have
work
you
is
come back
done
and
locally.
re-inspect what it was
Well,
done.
again, this is just a pass-fail that you had. We tell the client, now you need to find a design professional acceptable to the building official who will now oversee that project with 3 visits, an initial, a mid, and a final. Okay, and then sign off. So after we tell them that something didn't pass, we're not holding their legs to the fire and saying, you it's only us, we're the only ones that know, we basically tell them, here's the process. Involve your city official, involve a local vendor, involve a local engineer or architect, get you guys together. This is what you gotta do if you have any questions.
It's a great report.
If you want us to do the engineer oversight, we can do the engineer oversight. We'll come in and do the 3. And in a lot of cases, we get residential people say, hey, I want you to do the job. So, dude, we can't. I mean, what we charge to do commercial stuff, you know, your local guy is gonna handle. Just make sure that your local guy calls the city official and make sure that everybody's, because the city official is watching this. He doesn't want the wrong thing done. Our job here is to educate you on what is right. But you know, if there's a million fire escapes out there, what do you think? You're gonna give me all that? I gotta divorce my wife if I don't. I'm gonna do a million fire escapes. This is gonna re-energize your local architects, engineers, and your local ornamental and welding guys. They're all gonna get very excited about this because this is work for everybody. You just have to have a checklist that helps you understand who isn't everybody, you know, and if they're gonna be straight about this stuff. See this other stuff? Because in 2 minutes I want to get into the confidence test. See? This is what we find when you have a chance to blow out walls, but look how much money is involved in this when you blow out walls, okay? So let's rock and roll fast. This is what it looks like when I have to, you know, verify a connection into the building. This is in California. You understand? This is fire escape proctology. You know what you get to see down when you're looking down that hole? You get to see nothing. You see that drill? If I take that drill and 6 inches away from the angle, I put in a 1 3/4 hole. And I put an epoxy bolt in there, and then I make this angle clip come back and pick up your frame. Isn't that a duplicate connection? Do I care about the connection that I just destroyed? That connection doesn't look too bad. But in order to verify the steel all the way into the building, what do I have to do? I didn't drill 1 hole, I have to drill like 4. You know, side by side, the drill didn't want to work correctly. And when you look down the hole, what do you see? I think that's my eyeball over there looking down the hole. What is it? It's fire escape proctology. Every 5 years I gotta go looking down that. Usually when you're 50 years old, you have to look down